Look at your hands. You believe they are free because they do not wear the crude iron shackles of the past. Yet you hold a device that tracks your location, calculates your desires, and reminds you every single morning of the debts you have yet to pay. You sit in your climate-controlled rooms, consuming frictionless entertainment, convinced that you are the master of your destiny. But let me ask you a question that cuts through the neon glare of your modern illusions. If you stopped working tomorrow, how long before the walls of your life collapse? If the answer is measured in weeks or months, you are not a free man. You are a tenant in a kingdom built by lenders who thrive on your comfortable paralysis. I know the anatomy of scarcity. I was born in the margins of the world, on a small, sun-bleached island in the Caribbean, where the smell of sugarcane was permanently mixed with the scent of human sweat and degradation. I watched my mother die in the very bed where we both shook with tropical fevers. And when the executors of her tiny estate arrived, they stripped us of everything. Even her books were sold to satisfy the ledger lines of local creditors. I was left with nothing but an empty stomach and an unyielding fury against chaos. The world tells you that money is merely a medium of exchange, a neutral tool to buy convenience or status. That is the first lie you absorb from the institutions that govern your mind. Money is not a tool. It is a fluid form of human energy. It is the physical manifestation of your scarce hours on this earth. And when you surrender it carelessly, you are surrendering your sovereignty piece by piece. You live in an era that has perfected the art of the elegant trap. Your financial systems do not use whips. They use credit scores, interest rates, and the intoxicating illusion of instant gratification. They invite you to borrow against a future you have not yet lived, to buy things you do not need, to impress people you do not respect. You call it leverage. You call it modern finance. I call it an explicit contract with your own destruction. The moment you owe another man or another institution for your basic survival, you have handed them the keys to your intellect. You can no longer speak the raw truth at your workplace. You cannot risk the grand chaotic leap of starting your own enterprise. You cannot look your employer in the eye and say no. You become compliant. You become predictable. You become an asset on someone else's balance sheet, while your own inner estate rots into the soil. Every dollar you borrow to sustain a lifestyle you cannot afford is a drop of blood drained from your future capacity. When I took the office of the first Secretary of the Treasury for a young, bleeding nation, I inherited a mountain of unorganized debt that would have crushed a lesser mind. The romantic dreamers, the agrarian philosophers who spent their days sipping wine on slave-tended plantations, told me to ignore the debt or to default on it. They called it a clean slate. But a clean slate achieved through dishonor is a ghost fortress. I knew that credit, the trust of the world, was our most potent weapon. I bound the states together by their debts, turning a collective liability into the very mortar that held the union together. I created a financial machine out of thin air because I understood an absolute law. If you do not design your own financial architecture, someone else will design it to exploit your weaknesses. What is the architecture of your individual life? You spend more time curating your digital identity than you do auditing the leaks in your own fortress. You live from paycheck to paycheck, trading the irreplaceable velocity of your youth for paper symbols of wealth that evaporate the moment the market shifts. You think you have years to figure it out. You believe that your older self will magically possess the discipline that your current self lacks. But time does not breed discipline. It merely compounds your bad habits. If you cannot rule a single dollar today, you will be crushed by $1 million tomorrow. Part 2. Let us speak of your vanity. You are obsessed with the aesthetics of success. You buy the luxury vehicle that depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot. You rent the high-rise apartment with the view that makes you feel like a king for an hour. You wear the clothing that bears the names of European masters, believing that by wrapping your skin in wealth, you have actually become wealthy. This is the mirage of the tailored monarch. You are dressing a corpse in silk. The cold rule of ambition that men learn too late is that true wealth is not what you spend. It is what you control. When I was an aide-de-camp to General George Washington during the darkest winter of the Revolution, we did not have shoes, let alone luxury. Our soldiers wrapped their feet in blood-soaked rags to march through the snow. We did not win that war because we had more gold than the British Empire. We won because we possessed a superior economy of will. We understood how to direct our limited resources with absolute lethal focus toward a singular objective. Most men today fail long before they ever reach a battlefield because they have already spent their ammunition on toys. They mistake consumption for power. They think that because they can swipe a card and receive a product, they are participating in the wealth of the nation. But you are not a participant. You are the harvest. Why do you think the corporate cathedrals of your city are built with such magnificent glass and steel? It is because they are designed to house the elite slaves who have traded their life's blood for a high salary. They give you a title, a corner office, and a health insurance policy that keeps you tied to the desk. And in return, you give them the prime years of your creative genius. You tell yourself that you will do this for 5 years, save your money, and then walk away to live your true life. But 5 years becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, and before you know it, you are an old man with a heavy mortgage, a collection of expensive watches, and a hollow chest where your soul used to be. You have been caught by the golden handcuffs. Part 3. Break the glass of that illusion. A high income is a dangerous narcotic if it is coupled with an equal level of consumption. It makes you believe you are moving forward when you are merely running faster on a treadmill that someone else controls. The only metric of financial success that matters is your level of independence. Can you look at the most powerful man in your industry and walk away from his offer without a tremor of fear? Can you spend 6 months in absolute silence, writing the book, building the software, or planning the revolution without checking your bank statement every Tuesday morning? If you cannot, then your wealth is a fiction. You are just a well-dressed beggar pleading for another year of employment. True ambition demands that you view every financial decision as a tactical skirmish for your independence. When you choose to save rather than spend, you are not depriving yourself. You are purchasing a weapon for your future war. You are buying the right to speak your mind, the right to take risks, the right to build a legacy that outlives your body. The next time you are tempted to buy an item designed to signal your status to strangers, look at it for what it truly is. A small piece of iron designed to anchor you to the galley of the collective machine. Look at how you manage your internal resources. You are a divided house. Within you sits a romantic who wants to create art, an idealist who wants to change the world, a beast that wants comfort, and an administrator who wants safety. You are a loose confederation of competing impulses, much like the 13 colonies before the ratification of our Constitution. Each state wanted its own currency, its own trade laws, and its own petty sovereignty, while the nation as a whole was starving, vulnerable to foreign invasion, and unable to pay its veterans. If I had left the United States in that condition of radical decentralization, we would have been swallowed by Great Britain or Spain within a generation. Most men live and die as a failed confederation. Your Monday self sets a budget. Your Friday self burns it in a fit of hedonistic exhaustion. Your January self vows to invest in assets. Your July self spends the capital on a vacation to escape the reality of your life. You have been caught by what I call the negotium, the cold, unthinking world of pure commercial automation and relentless busyness. You have no central government. You have no unified bank of the soul to enforce discipline across your short timeline. to master your life before your hair turns gray. You must establish a federalism of the intellect. You must create an inner constitution that protects your long-term legacy from the daily tyranny of your emotional states. Consider the cost of your internal anarchy. You lose thousands of hours to hesitation and hundreds of thousands of dollars to small unconscious leaks. You think that because an expense is small, a monthly subscription, a daily luxury, a minor convenience, it does not matter. But empires are not ruined by a single catastrophic war. They are eroded from within by the slow, continuous corruption of their currency. A single leak can sink a great ship if it is left unaddressed while the captain is sleeping. You must become the ruthless auditor of your own existence. You must look at your bank accounts with the cold, unblinking eyes of a tax collector who knows that every single coin represents a moment of your mortality. This requires you to confront your ego. Most men use financial spending to patch the holes in their self-esteem. They are lonely, so they buy drinks for acquaintances who will forget their name by next season. They feel insignificant. So they enter markets they do not understand, chasing the speculative mania of the crowd, because they are afraid of being left behind. They want to be seen as leaders, so they assume liabilities that belong to others. Let me tell you about the crowd. It is a fickle, multi-headed beast that will applaud your rise today and watch your execution with equal enthusiasm tomorrow. If you tie your financial stability to the validation of the public, you have built your house on shifting sand. You must learn to derive your pride from your discipline, not from your display. Part 4. Let us speak of the ultimate risk. Let us speak of Weehawken. The world remembers my death on the cliffs of New Jersey, where I stood face to face with Aaron Burr under a gray morning sky. They look at that duel as a moment of political madness, an unnecessary sacrifice of a brilliant mind to an outdated code of honor. They do not understand that the duel did not begin on that cliff in 1804. It began the moment I decided that my principles were non-negotiable. Every financial choice, every political battle, every word I wrote for the Federalist Papers was a preparation for that final confrontation. I did not throw away my shot because I wanted to die. I threw it away because I valued the credit of my honor more than the biological continuity of my breath. You see, the final paradox of money is that it is entirely worthless if you do not have a value that exceeds it. If you worship wealth for its own sake, you will become a coward. You will bow to any tyrant, sign any contract, and betray any friend to protect your pile of gold. You will survive, yes, but you will survive as a shadow. The modern world is full of these financial ghosts. Men who have millions in their accounts but cannot stand up straight in the presence of power because they are terrified of losing their status. They have mastered the market, but they are slaves to their own fear of lack. What are you willing to die for? If you cannot answer that question, you cannot answer how you should live. If your highest goal is simply the accumulation of assets and the avoidance of discomfort, you will never possess the raw clarity required to achieve true greatness. Money should not be used to build a fortress to hide your fears. It should be used to clear the field so that your true intellect can operate without distraction. It should give you the freedom to stand on your own cliffs, look your enemies in the eyes, and act with absolute, uncompromised rectitude. The knives of time are already coming for your accounts. A market crash will wipe out your portfolio. An unexpected law will change the rules of your industry. Inflation will eat the value of your savings, and eventually, the cold ground will take your body. You cannot take your bank balances into the grave, since the end is already written. The only question that remains is how magnificent your story will be before the curtain falls. Stop living as if you have 1,000 years to waste. Stand up, straighten your posture. Look your fate in the eyes and tell it that you are ready for the match. Part 5. Breathe. Let the static of your modern anxieties drop away into the dark. Let the panic of your bills, the comparisons with your peers, and the daily noise of the financial commentators fall from your mind like dry leaves. You are not a machine designed to convert time into currency. You are a sovereign intellect given a brief, incandescent moment on this earth to impose your highest order upon the chaos of reality. You are the treasurer, you are the founder, you are the architect of your own unshakable republic. Look out over the landscape of your remaining years. The territory of your potential is wide, unmapped, and waiting for your command. Do not look back at the inheritance you did not receive or the financial mistakes of your 20s. The past is a bankrupt state that has already closed its books. It can neither credit nor debit your account tonight. The future is a clean ledger, and your current choice is the pen. When you open your eyes and step back into the chaotic markets of your world, do not walk as a desperate customer. Walk as the sovereign master of your hours. When confronted by a chance to borrow for a toy, choose the freedom of the empty pocket. When confronted by the golden handcuffs of a safe, soul-crushing career, prepare your exit strategy with the precision of a military campaign. When confronted by the panic of the crowd, remain anchored in the central bank of your own discipline. Your legacy does not require your name to be stamped on $1 million bill or carved into a marble vault. It requires only this: an absolute refusal to let your life be governed by fear of lack, a mind that treats time as its highest asset, and the unyielding courage to say to every lender, tyrant, and distraction that tries to buy your soul, my independence is not for sale.